What is going on, you guys, and welcome back to another video in the Street Build series, where today we're going to be covering the Mark IV Toyota Supra. As you know, we first got to give some background on the Supra. Releasing in 1993 as a successor to the Mark III Supra, this car came equipped with the legendary 2JZ engine that we all know and love today. This engine is rated at 321 horsepower and 315 pound-feet of torque and had a top speed of 177 miles per hour. When it comes to the drag strip, the Supra clocked a quarter-mile time of 13 seconds at 109 miles per hour, which made it quicker than a lot of V8 competitors at the time. This car also shipped with either a 6-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic. With all that out of the way though, let's get into the meat of this build and what will tune this thing up into a beast on the streets. Now, starting off, we gotta choose the wheels, tires, and suspension. For the wheels, we're gonna go with the MK RPF1 in a 17x9 with a plus 22 offset, and I think that these should hopefully be wide enough for our horsepower goal, and they also look pretty good. Now let's wrap these things in some tires, hoping that they are meaty enough to put all the power down for this, and we are going to entrust the Falcon Azenis RT615K Plus and a 255x40 R17, and these are nice and thick, and we'll cross our fingers for no wheel spin. Lastly, we can't forget suspension, and we gotta keep it classic, going with the BC Racing BR Series coilovers, which should stance this thing out super nice, help keep body roll to a minimum, and overall are just an amazing upgrade over stock. Now the 2JZ in this thing loves to get boosted, so there won't be that many supporting mods for this build, but we will start first with fueling this bad boy. That is by using the fuel kit from Radium Engineering that comes with a fuel pump hanger that can support 2 Walbro 450 liter per hour fuel pumps, which should be perfect for supporting this horsepower goal, and honestly, maybe even more. Next up, we're going to choose our turbo, and I feel like this turbo is pretty classic on a lot of higher horsepower Supras, so we're going to do no different, and that is done with none other than the Precision Turbo Engineering 6466. It's a pretty big turbo, and I believe that it won't have that much low end, but this turbo will have plenty of room if you would ever desire to turn the power up even more in this thing, so you don't have to go out and get a whole new turbo for that. To get this turbo to work with our setup, we are going to need a turbo manifold for the 2JZ, and that comes from PHR and their Street Torque manifold, and it is even rated up to 900 horsepower. Now back to fueling, we're going to need some bigger injectors for this build to make sure that we're going to properly fuel this thing, and that comes from Injector Dynamics and their ID 1300 injectors. These should have no problem keeping up with our horsepower goal, and it seems that all you would need to do to push more power in this car would simply just be getting larger injectors than these. Now let's quickly talk about clutch, because even though we can make as much horsepower as we want, it doesn't matter if the power doesn't transfer. With the help of ACT and their clutch kit, we can accomplish this and also have a little overhead in case you would want to make more power. Which I think I keep saying, but it's true that a lot of these parts are just slightly overkill and have room for even more power with this thing. I just want to keep the horsepower number lower, as this thing is supposed to be a street car. Also, since this doesn't come with a flywheel, ACT requires us to get the ACT Streetlight flywheel in combination with this clutch to make it work. Now for the intercooler, we're going to go with the ETS intercooler upgrade, which should be perfect for this build because it will A, look sick, and B, can ensure that we get some nice cool compressed air hitting the engine. Next up, we need the brains. With the help of the AEM Infinity 506 engine management system, we can flash our tunes for the 2JZ, and it also allows the compatibility with adding a bunch of sensors, so whatever you would want to monitor, you can get a sensor and easily hook it up, which is something great about choosing AEM. Now of course, we are going to factor in the cost of a tune, since that is a pretty hefty expense, so we will say like $800 to get an E85 tune done for this car, and we should easily be able to push 600 wheel horsepower, so this thing is packing. I think it's safe to say that no build can truly be complete without an exhaust. But first, let's cover downpipe, which comes from Circuit Works in their 3-inch V-band single turbo downpipe, and it is catless, as we don't want to risk that getting sucked into our turbo if it ever does fail, and honestly, it's just better overall for performance, I believe, if we just keep it catless. Now with that out of the way, exhaust. This is the HKS Carbon TI exhaust for the Toyota Supra, and I think that we can all agree this suits the car perfectly. Take a listen. I had no doubts that this thing would sound amazing, considering that it is coming from HKS after all. With all that done though, there are a few modifications that could wait, but let's just cover them so you guys all know that these are some parts that are likely to fail in the near future from making 600 horsepower, so it's up to you if you want to replace them now or just save up until they do fail. This first part comes from Autosports Engineering, but a lot of other companies make them, and it will eventually break, but it can handle the horsepower for who knows how long since it's like a time bomb, so this mod should be considered. Another one is upgrading the crank pulley, since just like the timing belt, the crankshaft pulley is a ticking time bomb, so this is another mod to consider, and a lot of companies make this, but for the sake of giving one for reference, I have chosen the Ralco Performance one. Now the last mod to think about is getting some new coil packs, and these have some expiration date that we are unsure of, so while they will last, you could upgrade them to the Denso 673-1200 ignition coil. With all that being said, that we have added everything that we need for this perfect Toyota Supra street build. Thank you guys so much for joining me in another street build, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this one a lot. As always, drop a comment down below for anything that you would change, add, or hate about this build. And be sure to comment if there's any other cars that you guys would like to see for a street build, as I always like seeing what kind of videos you guys would like to see for this series. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.